George Carlin said they're coming for your Social Security. He said that, I think, 15 years ago. So they're coming for your Social Security because they've wanted to take your Social Security, no matter what they say. They're right now they're privatizing Medicare and stuff like that. So everybody's pretending like they're going to save Social Security. Republicans and Democrats alike, but believe me, they want to cut Social Security and Medicare for all
to save it.
Here's what Joe Biden said before he was president.
When he did the tax code, what's the first thing he decided we had to go after? Social Security and Medicare. Now we need to do something.
Why? So anyway,
the first thing. That's the first thing we got to go after. Okay.
So there is a push to cut Social Security. We showed you this guy before. This guy Rick Allen. He wants to cut Social Security. Remember why he said?
Well, raising the age of retirement.
You know, that's interesting that you asked that question. People come up to me, they actually want to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's on the table, you're saying?
Well, you know, if people want to work on it, maybe you need to give them an incentive to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way to solve every one of these problems, by the way.
I know.
So that's a literal congressman saying that people come up to him and say that raise the retirement age because they want to keep working. They want to work longer.
So they're being kept from that by their pesky retirements.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so we need to step in.
Here we go.
My objective to phase out Social Security. So
that's Mike Lee, a guy who Bernie Sanders has worked on anti-war legislation, and he's saying his goal is to. Well, let's hear it.
My objective to phase out Social Security. To pull it up by the roots and get rid of it.
He wants he's telling old people that.
What is happening?
He wants to phase out Social Security. Those are people who have been brainwashed into thinking they would have more money if we didn't have Social Security. That they could take that money and put in the stock market and they'd have more money.
That would be great. You could put in FTX.
Trump says don't touch Medicare or Social Security in debt ceiling fight. So he knows politically it's bad to be for cutting Social Security and Medicare. Republicans keep saying the quiet part out loud. Pence calls for privatizing Social Security. So here we have these Republicans, they keep saying, let's cut it. They want to cut the privatized Social Security and take away your young people's future, said Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal. Former Vice President Mike Pence, a possible 2024 presidential candidate, has voiced support for a Social Security privatization scheme that the George W. Bush administration unsuccessfully pushed nearly 2 decades ago.
Please, let's finish the work of George W. Bush.
Got to get the hard work done. In a closed-door event Thursday hosted by the National Association of Wholesale Distributors, a corporate trade group, Pence said he believes that the day could come when we can replace the New Deal with a better deal, literally giving younger Americans the ability to take a portion of their Social Security withholdings and put it into the private savings account that the government would oversee.
No, thank you.
Well, then we'll all build wealth.
I mean, a very simple fund that could generate 2% would get. So he's talking about take that money and put it into this, give it to Wall Street. That's what this is. And it could save the government money doing it too, he said in a video. Okay.
Why don't we take all the Ukraine money and the military money and put that in and then they can make their money on Wall Street. They'll probably do better.
And buy their own bombs.
Yeah. Give them the power to buy their own bombs.
That's what this is about. Experts have forcefully rejected the notion that private savings accounts of the kind Pence endorsed, which would allow workers to divert a portion of their payroll tax contributions into private investment accounts, would be more beneficial than Social Security's guaranteed benefits. So let me read that again without that stupid fuck. I can't believe people write like this. Experts have forcefully rejected the notion that private savings accounts of the kind Pence endorsed would be more beneficial than Social Security's guaranteed benefits, as the former vice president suggested. The popular argument that Social Security privatization would provide higher returns for all current and future workers is misleading, because it ignores transition costs and differences across programs in the allocation of aggregate and household risk. Who said that? That's Olivia Mitchell and John Giannakopoulos and Steven Zeldes. They're economists sympathetic to the idea of privatization. They wrote that in a paper in 2000.
let's take your guarantee and turn it into risk.
That's what they're going to do. Take a guarantee and turn it
You're
into
not
a
even
risk.
risking this.
Experts have also said private accounts would not, as Pence put it, save the government money. In 2005, analysts with the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities estimated that a privatization plan put forth by former Senator John Sununu and former Representative Paul Ryan would create $85.8 trillion in additional debt, equal to 93.7% of the GDP by 2050. Wow. While not boosting Social Security's long-term solvency, something Republicans claim they want to do. So if you privatize Social Security, that's the path to bankruptcy.
Who's bringing them this written out plan? Because I know these imbeciles aren't
so it's coming from think tanks, I'm sure, from right-wing single. Creation of a system of private accounts would not change the amount of revenue coming into the federal government, but it would increase the government spending because the federal government would be making regular payments into the, private accounts. These payments would represent new government spending. This increase in spending, unaccompanied by an increase in revenues, would widen annual deficits. Despite the myriad drawbacks of private accounts as a partial or full-scale alternative to Social Security, Republicans have continued to promote them. Last year, the Republican study, so we got it. I don't want to read any more of this. So Pence's remarks Thursday came as the White House and House Republicans are locked in a high-stakes standoff over the debt ceiling, which the GOP does not want to raise without also inflicting deep cuts into federal spending. And part of their sweeping austerity push, Republicans have suggested raising the retirement age, which would cut Social Security benefits across the board.
What do you want, Ukraine to experience austerity?
Hey, new report, 40% of older Americans rely solely on Social Security for their retirement income. 4 out of 10 retired people, all they have is Social Security.
Well, let's build their wealth.
Wow. Want to know how Monica Lewinsky saved Social Security? This is good. The ever-popular Social Security has had a number of saviors and destroyers. 18 years ago this month, Special Prosecutor Kenneth Starr was turning the screws on President Bill Clinton with testimony from Lewinsky and others about salacious things like cigar tubes and sex stains on a blue dress. Many people forget that Clinton, along with his then Deputy Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, were at the very same time negotiating with Newt Gingrich to privatize Social effing Security. And they had a deal. And they were going to say it was going to save Social Security. The plan meant to be another grand bargain uniting centrists of both parties like Clinton had done over NAFTA and welfare reform. But the deal imploded under the weight of the Lewinsky scandal. It's crazy to say, but Lewinsky and that embarrassingly graphic national movement saved Social Security from a terrible fate.
I know the name of another great Chelsea Clinton children's book, The Girl Whose Mouth Saved Social Security. She persisted.
Wow. Doing live stand-up comedy in Tempe, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, Nashville, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, and Hartford, Connecticut. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets and become a premium member. Get access to all our content.